All right, folks, let's dive into the wild world of Indian economics. Today, we're talking about Nirmala Sitaram, India's finance minister. Since taking office, Sitaraman has been like a bull in a china shop. But instead of breaking plates, she's been shattering economic expectations. Her tenure has been marked by a series of controversial decisions. One of the main criticisms of Sitaraman's leadership is her aggressive approach to taxation. This strategy has hit the middle class and small businesses particularly hard. It's as if she's trying to squeeze blood from a stone, but the stone is the average Indian citizen. Sitaraman's economic policies have been criticized for lacking vision, from questionable reforms in tax departments to a seeming lack of concern for unemployment. Her tenure has been a roller coaster ride, and not the fun kind. Now let's talk about Sitaraman's tax strategy. It's about as subtle as a sledgehammer. She's hiked both direct and indirect taxes. The middle class is feeling the squeeze. Small businesses haven't been spared either. The increased tax burden has made it harder for these businesses to stay afloat. The consequences of this aggressive tax strategy are far-reaching. Reduced consumer spending affects businesses, creating a vicious cycle. This tax strategy has also led to increased tax evasion. When paying taxes feels like voluntary torture, people start looking for ways out. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and Sitaraman's policies have certainly made times desperate. It's like when you tell a kid they can't have cookies, and suddenly they become master cookie thieves. Now let's talk about fuel taxes and GST expansion. Sitaraman has been wielding these like a double-edged sword. First up, fuel taxes. Sitaraman has hiked these up so high you'd think petrol was a luxury item. The result? Inflation has gone through the roof, and then there's the GST expansion. The expansion of GST has hit businesses hard. The impact of these policies on inflation and business operations can't be overstated. Businesses are struggling to keep up with the constant changes and increased costs. It's like trying to hit a moving target while riding a unicycle on a tight rope over a pit of crocodiles. Section 4. Tax Department Reforms. More harm than good? Sitaraman introduced these reforms with all the fanfare of a magician pulling a rabbit out of a hat. But instead of a cute bunny, she pulled out a bureaucratic nightmare. The reforms were supposed to streamline processes and increase efficiency, but they've had about as much success as a screen door on a submarine. The tax departments are now more confused than a chameleon in a bag of Skittles. The inefficiencies resulting from these reforms have been staggering. Now taxpayers are left dealing with longer processing times, more paperwork and increased confusion. These reforms have also led to increased litigation between taxpayers and the tax department. The goal was to make things simpler and more efficient. Instead, we've got a system that's about as straightforward as a politician's promise. Section 5, unemployment and lack of growth initiatives. Under Sitaraman's tenure, unemployment has been rising faster than a helium balloon at a kid's birthday party. Sitaraman's approach to this issue has been about as effective as using a fork to eat soup. She's introduced various schemes and initiatives, but they've had about as much impact as a feather hitting a brick wall. But it's not just about the lack of jobs, it's about the lack of growth-oriented initiatives. Sitaraman's economic policies have been about as growth-friendly as a garden full of weeds. Instead of nurturing the seeds of economic growth, she's been busy building fences. The result? An economy that's moving slower than a sloth on vacation. Businesses are struggling to expand, entrepreneurs are hesitant to start new ventures, and existing companies are tightening their belts faster than a competitive eater after a big meal. Section 6. Public spending and accountability concerns. Under Sitaraman's watch, public spending has been about as well managed as a three-ring circus run by clowns. The finance minister has been throwing money around like it's confetti at a wedding, but instead of celebrating, we're all left wondering who's going to clean up the mess. Public initiatives have been launched with all the careful planning of a cat chasing a laser pointer. But it's not just about how much is being spent, it's about how it's being spent. Accountability in public spending under Sitaraman's tenure has been about as present as snow in the Sahara. The lack of transparency is so severe, you'd need a flashlight and a map to find where all the money's going. The way public funds are being used is about as efficient as trying to nail jelly to a wall. It's like watching someone try to fill a bucket with a hole in it.